Hi, welcome to my channel, The Builder's House. I began this channel just to hopefully be an encouragement and an inspiration to those who may be in transition in their life. And I wanted to just share my journey of some of the things I've been through throughout my life. And I wanted to start just doing probably a two-part video series, why I left Christianity. And so I'm just going to get right into it. I grew up in Western Canada in the 70s and 80s, and my mother was a very devout Christian woman, and my father, on the other hand, he wasn't religious at all. He was quite spiritual, though, and he had a lot of knowledge, a lot of wisdom, and common sense. So that was kind of the environment that I grew up in. And my father immigrated to Canada after World War II from Europe. And he worked on ships most of his life and was kind of a hard man on the outside, but he had a lot of soft spots and a lot of, like I said, wisdom to share. So he had a lot of beliefs that didn't really sit well with the church system or Western culture for that matter. But he spoke his mind, and even though it really wasn't received too well, from my mom's family and the church, which she was pretty heavily involved with throughout my growing up years. He did speak his mind, and he taught us a lot as I grew up. So basically, my mom, she was a stay-at-home mom, and I had a pretty good relationship with her growing up throughout my childhood and even my teenage years. She spent a lot of time teaching my younger brother and I, in what they call like family devotions. So if you're a Christian, you know what I mean by that. So this influenced a lot of my decisions growing up, my life choices, just not only the church, but some of the things that my mom had taught me and whatnot. So she brought us to church probably like 3, sometimes 4 times a week. Various Protestant churches, they have throughout the United States and Canada. So as I grew up throughout my teenage years, excuse me, I became more and more involved with the church system and things like mission work and Sunday school and stuff. I'm just going to take a drink of water. Yeah, they got me involved with the Sunday school and the church choir, and eventually I ended up going to a Bible college after I graduated from high school. So yeah, it was pretty involved. Now just backtracking a little bit, when I turned 12, we had moved to another area of the neighborhood on the I guess the mainland area outside of Vancouver. So it was a Pentecostal type church, and it was known as what they call apostolic holiness. And yeah, they have them all over United States, Canada. I think they have them throughout Europe, different parts of the world. They have missionaries, things like that. So it's kind of a unique church in the way that it teaches, but I'll get into that a little bit later. So when I started going to this church, I did have a lot of questions, as kids start to usually have when they get to be 11, 12 years old, about a little bit more serious things in life. So, some of the things that they taught, and I just kind of wondered, why they took the stance that they did. But I guess a few of the things, just as an example, were like the women weren't allowed to wear pants, then no makeup, no television, no movies, of course, no drinking, smoking, all that kind of stuff. They were, teaching against it. So I guess in some ways it was positive because it kept me, as I grew into my teenage years, from getting into, negative things such as drug use and whatnot. I went to a pretty rough high school at the time. So, yeah, in that aspect, it did keep me from that. Uh, but other than that, there was a lot of things that they define, as right and wrong, and what, supposedly God wants and what he expects, how to please God, how to obey God, uh, from their point of view, which is not just according to mainstream Christianity, but it's pretty like along the fundamentalist type mindset. So some of it was pretty extreme, and I don't know. It was like they didn't believe that any of the other churches really were doing it right. But then, it's a lot of churches teach that way. That their version of the Bible, how they interpret it, is only one way, and that's according to their denomination. So you got hundreds of denominations out there within Christianity, and each one has their own little take on how things should not be interpreted. So that's pretty common. But yeah, I had a lot of friends there, and I got involved pretty quick after I started going there. They got me teaching Sunday school and going down to the homeless missions, and uh, my mom was the same. She got involved with the ladies group. They had their functions, they had their bake sales and all that. So yeah, I got pretty heavily involved then after um, 12 years old and on into my teen years. So I wasn't really the typical teenager. I was pretty serious minded, even apart from the religion aspect. So I poured all my youth, my energy into the church because that's where I was at the time. And so, yeah, it was just, I was there when the church doors were opened. So I started to have kind of more questions, though, as I grew older through my teen years about why they believed certain ways. And, they always had an answer, and you'll get that with a lot of the religious people. They'll have a Bible verse for every question a young person has or somebody who's new. And, it's just part of the evangelism that they have going. So, why am I sharing all this? I'm just giving a background of where I was, a little bit of my journey and things I experienced, and in my videos I plan to do further on down the road. I just wanted to give a background kind of where I was at the time. I have a lot of different belief structures right now because I did come out of Christianity eventually in 2006. So it's been several years now, 15 years, 16 years since I've been in the Christian religion. But it was all part of my journey. It was all part of a learning experience and things that I went through, not just within religion, but in other parts of my life. So moving forward here, I got a little note, so keep me on track. I don't want to make this too long. But so as I neared my late teens, basically where my mindset was at that time, I viewed that the Christian God, he had a big plan for my life. I had a lot of hopes and dreams, just like any young person growing up. And I was really, I guess not just within that particular Christian church, but the different denominations when I was younger as well. Uh, it's a conditioning that it's not just something I did on Sunday mornings, but it involved every aspect of my life. So I truly thought that what I believed was the right way. It was pleasing to how I viewed the world around me, how I viewed myself, uh, to the Christian God. So yeah, the the Bible was a big part of that, and what they taught. The Bible defined who God was, who I was, what the spirit realms were, and what was there, and what the world was, what the afterlife held. It pretty well defined everything. It was like a map, compass. So that's basically how it went from the age of 12 when I came into this new church and to 18 years old. And like I said, I went into the Bible college after that because I decided, at that time that I wanted to, be involved full time in ministry work, as they call it, and teach children. So that's where my heart was. And I didn't go to the church because I was forced by my mom or because I was scared of going to hell. At that time, I believed really that it was truth. And even though I had questions, I thought, because it was the Bible that was the foundation and the beliefs that they taught there. So it it was something that I really felt I wanted to do for the rest of my life. So let's see here. When I began to go to Bible college, I began to see things in a little bit of a different way because it wasn't the little community church that I had attended there in my earlier teens. So a lot of the people who taught the classes were like pastors and teachers themselves. So I started to kind of see things from a little different perspective of what was really going on behind closed doors, so to speak. So, yeah, um, it kind of got me thinking, like, is this the full truth? And, or is this just the partial truth? Because, like I said, it was just things that I saw and, from some of the things that were said there. But I still held to the Bible. And even though that I started to question the church doctrines, I thought, well, maybe if I just find another church, they'll preach more, fullness of truth. So I was holding on to the Bible, and I guess it kept me in this religious box for quite a long time. And so after college, I began to look at a lot of different other churches within still Christianity, but just a lot of different denominations to see what really was out there. And I felt like there was something amiss, but I didn't know what it was. And at that time, they didn't have the internet. And yeah, I'm getting older. So they didn't have the internet. When a person wanted to do research, they either had to go to the library or go and buy books at a bookstore. And, that basically was it. They didn't have all the luxury now of the information that a person can access. So that's kind of where I was, and where I'm coming from. Like I said, it was quite a few years now that I was part of Christianity, and I can't discount it in any way, really, because I did learn from it, and it's a journey. Everyone's in their own place, and So any Christians listening to this, I do appreciate you hearing some of my story, and but I really wouldn't appreciate you sending me messages and trying to get me to go back to Christianity. I know what the Bible says. Like I said, I went, 3 years to Bible college. I did, my own personal devotions every day. I was very committed. What I thought to God and to what I believed was true. So I welcome questions though, or comments if you want to leave. And I realize everyone's on their different, on a different path perhaps, or a different interpretation of things. So whether it's religion or anything else, I'm not here to convince anyone or try to, force anyone into what I believe. I'm here just to share my journey and things I've learned along the way. So that's my intention of this video and my whole channel, really. So in closing, and I don't want to be too long here, when I did finally leave Christianity in 2006, I didn't leave because I was like a rebellious teenager just wanting to go out and have fun, or wanting to escape my strict rules of my church. I really enjoyed going. I was a part of the youth group. I had a lot of friends. We did a lot of stuff. So I liked where I was at that time. And I wasn't a young adult just wanting to go, try something new, explore a different religion or, something like that. But I did believe that the Bible was my compass. Like I said, it was my map for living. And when I did eventually leave the church, it was when I was a mom myself. I was in my 30s, and I had been doing some studying on my own at home, and I had come upon a website that went into some of the origins of the teachings within Christianity in general. And that is what ultimately got me studying, researching into a lot of different things, and eventually decided to leave that, entire religion. So it just kind of went from there, and it really was a process. The whole journey, if you will, was a process of, taking information, processing it, reprocessing it, discarding what I felt was not truth, and moving forward from there. So yeah, in part two, I'm going to go a little bit more in depth of, some of the actual reasons that I had researched of why I left the Christian church. So I'm going to leave it at that for now. And like I said, if you have comments or questions, feel free to leave, and I'll do my best to answer. So thank you for joining me, and look forward to probably next week. I'm going to post another video, and look forward to hearing from you. Thank you for joining me. Bye-bye.